What do you do when someone you love just vanishes without a trace? When they leave you with nothing but questions and a broken heart? You search, you wait, you hope. And then, years later, just when you've convinced yourself to move on, they return, changed, carrying secrets that might destroy everything. What will you do when you finally find the answers you've been looking for? Hi, my name is Emily. I'm 31 years old, and I've been working as a research analyst at a tech startup here in Seattle for the past 6 years. My job is all numbers, projections, and reports, methodical and predictable, much like the life I've built for myself since everything went wrong. I'm not complaining, really. It's a safe, stable existence. But I can't lie. There's a part of me that's still haunted by the past. That part never really went away. And if I'm being honest with myself, it never will. 5 years ago, I had everything I could ever want, or so I thought. I was 26, still young, but feeling like I was on top of the world. Ben and I had been together for 3 years. He was everything to me. The kind of guy who could make me laugh in the darkest of times, whose touch could make me forget the world. We talked about the future all the time. We had planned so many plans. We even talked about the day we would get married. I would wear a simple white dress, nothing fancy, just us together forever. Our dreams were big, and they felt real, tangible. And for me, it was a love that couldn't be broken. I never thought for a second that he would leave. But then, one morning, it all came crashing down. I woke up and found a note on the kitchen counter. Just a piece of paper, scribbled with words that I still can't shake. I need to figure things out. Don't wait for me. I'm sorry. That was all. No explanation. No explanation for why he left. No call, no message. He just vanished. At first, I didn't know how to process it. I thought maybe it was some kind of joke, a temporary break. Maybe he was just going through something. So I waited, I called, I texted, but I never heard from him. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. I searched for him everywhere. I checked his social media profiles, hoping for some clue. I reached out to his family, his friends. I went to the places we used to visit, hoping to bump into him, but there was no trace. Not a single lead. It was as if he had disappeared from the face of the earth. By the time 6 months had passed, I knew it wasn't a mistake. I knew he wasn't coming back. But still, I couldn't let go. The man I thought I knew, the one I thought would always be there for me, had turned his back on everything. And I was left in the silence of it all. I tried to move on. I really did, but it was like trying to outrun a shadow. Everywhere I went, his absence followed me. I tried dating again, but it never felt right. Every guy I met felt like a poor substitute for him. And every time I let my guard down, something would remind me of him, his laugh, his touch, the way he would hold me when I was feeling lost. But I still couldn't give up on the idea that maybe, just maybe, one day, I would get answers. Maybe he would come back and explain everything. Maybe I could understand what went wrong. I couldn't accept that we had just ended like that. Not after everything we had built together. The first few years were the hardest. I cried myself too. Sleep for months, wondering if I had missed some sign, some clue that could have warned me. What had I done wrong? Was I not enough for him? It was a devastating thought, one that took me a long time to even admit to myself. But eventually, the tears stopped. The sleepless nights became fewer. I buried myself in work, found new hobbies, and gradually, life started to look a little brighter. I even made new friends. But despite all my efforts to move on, there was always a small piece of me that held on to the hope that one day I'd see him again. One evening, a few months ago, something strange happened. I was sitting on my couch after a long day of work, scrolling through my phone absent-mindedly, when I came across an old picture of Ben and me. It was from the last vacation we had together, us smiling on a beach, holding hands, a snapshot of a perfect moment. I felt a lump form in my throat as I stared at it. I missed him more than I cared to admit. It was like a physical ache in my chest. I closed my eyes, forcing myself to let go of the image, to stop longing for the life that was gone. I thought I had finally moved on, but there it was, the familiar. Knot in my stomach, the feeling that I hadn't truly let go. The next morning, I woke up early to get to work. As I made my coffee and glanced at my phone, I froze. There was a message waiting for me. It was from an unknown number, and it simply said, "I'm back." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My mind raced. Could it be? Was it really him? I quickly tapped on the message, and when it opened, my heart stopped. It was Ben. The message was brief, just a few words, but it felt like a lifetime of emotions packed into them. He said he needed to explain everything, that he had been going through something and wanted to make things right. He didn't want to interrupt my life, but he couldn't stay away anymore. I couldn't bring myself to respond immediately. It felt like I had been waiting for years, but now that he was actually reaching out, I wasn't sure if I was ready to face him. What had changed? Why was he back now? What had happened in all those years apart? For the next several days, I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't stop thinking about the message. He was back. After all this time, he was back. But why? What did he want from me now? And more importantly, what would I find when I saw him again? The next few days after receiving that cryptic message from Ben felt like I was suspended in time. I kept staring at the message, reading it over and over as if trying to decipher some hidden meaning in the words. I'm back. It had been so long, 5 years to be exact, and yet the words still had the power to shake me to my core. I had spent all that time telling myself I was fine, that I had moved on, that I didn't need him anymore. But the truth was, I had never truly let go. The memory of him lingered like a shadow I couldn't escape, no matter how much I tried. I spent the next few nights tossing and turning, my mind racing with questions. What could he possibly want now? Why after all these years? And why did he wait until now to contact me? I was afraid to reach out to him, to open the door to a past I had carefully tried to leave behind, but deep down, I knew I couldn't resist. After everything, I still cared for him. I still loved him, in some way, even after everything that had happened. And then, one afternoon, after much deliberation, I sent a simple response. Where are you? I didn't expect him to reply so quickly, but just a few minutes later, my phone buzzed. I'll be at the old coffee shop at 3. I'll be waiting. I felt a strange sense of nervous anticipation and dread rush over me. The coffee shop, of course. That was where we first met, where we had shared our first date, laughing over a cup of overpriced coffee, talking about our dreams for the future. It was a place that held so many memories that I hadn't revisited in years. The day of our meeting arrived, and I felt my hands tremble as I walked to the coffee shop. My heart was pounding in my chest, and I couldn't shake the feeling that this moment was somehow bigger than just a simple reunion. What had happened to him? Who had he become in the years he was gone? As I entered the coffee shop, I immediately spotted him. He was sitting by the window, just like old times, his back to the door. He looked different. His hair was a little longer, his clothes more casual, but it was his eyes that had changed the most. The same deep, brown eyes that I had once fallen in love with now carried a weight I had never seen before. They were darker, as if the years had filled them with secrets. His once familiar carefree smile was now replaced with a serious expression. A man who had been through something that had clearly affected him deeply. He looked up as I approached, and for a moment, neither of us spoke. We just stared at each other, the tension in the air almost unbearable. So many emotions swirled between us: love, anger, confusion, longing, things we had both buried for so long, things we had both tried to forget. Finally, he broke the silence. "Emily," he said softly, almost as if he was testing the sound of my name on his tongue. "I didn't expect you to be here." I took a deep breath and sat down across from him. The chair felt too small, the table too close, as if there was a chasm between us that neither of us could cross. "I'm here because you asked me to be," I said, my voice steady but my insides a mess of emotions. "And you owe me an explanation. Ben, you owe me that much." He nodded, his eyes filled with an emotion I couldn't place. He opened his mouth to speak, then closed it again, unsure of where to begin. The pause between us stretched on, thick with the weight of all the unsaid words. "I know you're angry," he said finally, his voice low, "and you have every right to be. I didn't want to hurt you. I never wanted to hurt you." Then, "Why did you leave, Ben?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Why did you disappear without a word? You didn't even try to explain, you just left." He shifted uncomfortably in his seat, looking down at his hands as though the key can fit uncomfortably in his seat, looking down at his hate. Answer was buried somewhere within them. "I wasn't myself when I left," he said, his voice shaky. "I was lost, Emily. I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know how to fix things, how to fix me. I thought leaving would help me find the answers, but it didn't. It made everything worse." I listened, trying to hold on to the fragments of the man I once knew, the man I thought I loved. But everything he said felt like an excuse, a justification for the pain he had caused. "You left me with nothing, Ben," I said, my voice breaking as the years of pain flooded back. "You didn't just leave without a word. You left me wondering every day if I was just a memory to you, if I ever meant anything at all." His face tightened, as if my words had physically struck him. "I didn't want to hurt you," he repeated, his voice hoarse. "I was trying to protect you. I thought that if I stayed away, if I cut myself off from everything, it would keep you safe from whatever I was going through." "Protect me?" I laughed bitterly, shaking my head. "You think disappearing for years is protecting me? You think running away was the answer?" Ben's eyes were filled with regret, and for a moment I saw the old Ben, the one I used to know, the one who had always cared for me. But it was fleeting, and the anger that had been building inside me started to take over. "You left me, Ben," I said, my voice growing louder. "I waited for you. I searched for you, hoping that one day you'd come back and explain. And now you expect me to just forgive you, to accept your reasons, after everything?" He looked at me with those dark eyes, and for a moment it seemed like he was going to say something more. But he didn't. Instead, he just nodded, a silent understanding passing between us. "I'm sorry, Emily," he said, his voice barely audible. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know the truth." The conversation hung in the air, heavy with unresolved emotions. There was so much more I wanted to say, so many more questions, so many things I needed to hear. But as I sat across from him, staring into those familiar eyes, I realized something. I didn't know who he was anymore. The man sitting in front of me was a stranger, someone I had once loved, but now I was unsure of. "I need time," I said, my voice softer now, quieter. "I can't make a decision now, Ben. I don't know if I can forgive you, but I can't forget everything either." He nodded slowly, standing up and looking at me one last time before walking out of the coffee shop. As the door closed behind him, I felt the weight of the years of waiting, of hoping, and of the love that had never truly disappeared. But as I sat there, alone again, I realized that this wasn't just about him anymore. This was about me, about what I needed, about what I could forgive, and whether or not I could ever truly move on. The days that followed Ben's confession felt like an eternity. I couldn't get the image of him standing there, broken and apologetic, out of my head. His words echoed in my mind. I thought leaving you was protecting you. I never wanted to hurt you. I wanted to scream at him, to tell him how wrong he was, how much he had hurt me. But I didn't. Instead, I was left with an overwhelming mix of emotions, betrayal, confusion, and the remnants of love that still lingered despite everything. I spent my nights tossing and turning, wondering if I could ever find a way to forgive him, or if I should. I couldn't shake the feeling that he was still hiding something that he hadn't told me. The way he had looked at me, the way his voice cracked when he spoke, felt like he was still holding back. He had given me the apology I had waited for, but was it enough? Was it ever going to be enough? It was 3 days later when I received another text from him, just like the first one. The simplicity of it almost startled me. Emily, can we meet again? I need to explain more, please. I stared at my phone, the weight of those words pulling me back to the place where everything had started. I had told him I needed time, but I hadn't realized just how much time I needed to process everything. And yet, something inside me, something deep, something instinctual told me that I couldn't walk away from this. I couldn't let him go without understanding the full truth. I agreed to meet him. But this time, I wasn't just going to listen. I needed answers. I needed to understand why. What had he really been going through? What was he hiding? The meeting place was the same as the last time, the coffee shop we used to go to when things were good. It felt almost like fate that we're back there, where it all started, but everything about it was different now. The warm, cozy atmosphere that had once been filled with laughter now seemed suffocating. As though the walls themselves knew the weight of the pain between us, Ben was already sitting at the same table when I arrived, his hands wrapped around a coffee cup, his posture slumped, as though he was waiting for something, some kind of sign from me. I took my seat across from him, my heart pounding in my chest, my thoughts racing. You said you needed to explain more, I began, my voice steady, though it didn't feel steady at all. So explain. I'm listening. He took a deep breath, looking at me with those haunted eyes. I owe you the truth, Emily. I've owed you that for a long time. I stared at him, waiting for him to continue. I could feel the walls around my heart tightening, but I couldn't stop myself from leaning in, hoping he would finally tell me what had happened. You were right, he started, his voice barely above a whisper. I did leave to protect you, but that wasn't the only reason. The truth is, I was involved with something. I didn't want you to get caught in the middle. It wasn't just my personal struggles that made me leave, it was the people I was around, the things I got involved with. I didn't know how to get out of it without putting you in danger. I was stunned, unable to process his words immediately. I had always assumed the worst, that he had left because of me, because I wasn't enough. But this was something else entirely. My mind raced, trying to understand what he was saying. What do you mean? What people? What did you get involved in, Ben? He looked away for a moment, clearly struggling to find the right words. It's hard to explain. I was working with some people I shouldn't have been working with, people who did things they shouldn't have. I thought I could handle it, but it got out of hand. I realized that if I stayed, if I kept seeing you, I would only drag you into that mess, and I couldn't do that. I couldn't live with myself if something happened to you because of me. I felt a mix of disbelief and anger boiling inside me. You think disappearing was the answer? You think leaving without telling me anything was the way to protect me? You left me in the dark, Ben. You left me alone, with no explanation, no closure. No, and I'm sorry, he said, his voice shaking with emotion. But I was scared. I didn't know how to fix it. I thought that by disappearing, by leaving you out of it, I was saving you from the danger that was closing in on me." I stared at him, trying to comprehend the depth of what he was saying. It was more than I had ever imagined. I had thought. He had left because of something I had done, because of something wrong with me. But this was a whole different story. I wasn't sure how to feel. I wasn't sure how to process the fact that Ben had been hiding something so huge, something so dangerous, all this time. But the one thing I knew for sure was that everything had changed. The silence stretched between us again, thick with unspoken words. I could feel the weight of his confession settling over me like a heavy blanket. But there was still so much I didn't understand. "So what now, Ben? What do you expect from me?" He looked up at me, his eyes filled with desperation and regret. "I don't know what I expect. I don't know if you can forgive me, but I'm asking for a chance. A chance to prove that I'm not the man I was when I left. I'm asking for a chance to make things right." I closed my eyes, fighting back tears. I wasn't sure if I could forgive him. I wasn't sure if I even wanted to forgive him. The years of pain and longing felt like too much to just let go of. But looking at him now, so vulnerable and broken, I realized that maybe, just maybe, I could find a way to move forward. But would I ever be able to trust him again? "I need time, Ben," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "I need time to think, to process everything. I can't make this decision right now." He nodded, his face filled with understanding. "I know. Take all the time you need. But just know that I'm here. I'm not going anywhere this time." I stood up, my legs feeling weak beneath me. As I walked out of the coffee shop, the weight of the decision ahead of me pressed down harder than I expected. I wasn't sure what would happen next. I wasn't sure if I could forgive him or if we could ever go back to what we had. But one thing was clear, I couldn't walk away without finding out the truth.